So now we're going to talk about how faith grows. How faith grows. We have been told that without faith, it is impossible to please God. It is impossible to please God. Romans 12:3 tells us that God has given us, each and every one of us, a measure of faith. It's not the full measure, but each one of us has been given a measure of faith. From the little toddler to the 100-year-old man. Because that little toddler, you bring them a potty, and they don't think, if I sit on that potty, it will break. They have faith that they can sit on that potty and it can hold them. That's where it starts. When we walk into a room, we don't test chairs first to see whether they are strong enough before we sit on them. That is faith. You go to a restaurant, a total stranger gives you food. You don't know this person. A total stranger cooked that food in a kitchen. You didn't even know how it was cooked. But when it is set in front of you, you have faith that it has got no poison, isn't it? And you eat it. A total stranger. You see? And that is why God tells us that, you shall eat poison and it will not harm you. And that is why we need to pray before we eat our food, isn't it? Because you do not know what it is. But we have a measure of faith. Now, as believers, because we've been given that measure of faith, something to work with, we must grow it. I must grow my faith. Whatever God has given me, and God, in the Word, we see that God expects whatever He's given us to grow, to multiply. That is why when we are given the parable of when people are given talents, God expects that if He gives you 5, you bring Him back 10. And that is when you get the well done, good and faithful servant. It's the same with faith. God will ask you, that faith I gave you, the measure of faith, how did you grow it? Some people will grow it a lot. Others will not grow it a lot. And we're going to see how to grow it. Okay? So I grow my faith by hearing and continuing to hear the word of God. I grow my faith by hearing and continuing to hear the word of God. Because we are told that in Romans 10:17, that faith comes by hearing the, in brackets, Rhema, word of God. Not just the word of God. If it was just coming by hearing the word of God, all of us would have incredible faith. People sit in church and hear the word of God Sunday after Sunday, don't they? And still they don't have faith. So what is it? The difference is in the Logos, which is a written word of God, and the Rhema that comes from the Logos now referring to my particular situation. God takes the Logos and speaks to me out of the Logos. As soon as I hear God speaking to me from that Logos word, it immediately becomes Rhema. So the word that is used in Romans 10:17 is not Logos. It is Rhema. It is Rhema in the Greek. So faith comes by hearing the Rhema word of God. Each time I am reading the word of God, how do I hear the Rhema word? First of all, it comes through the Logos, as I have said first. So when I listen to the Logos with my spirit, not with my natural ears, I'm listening with my spirit, wanting to hear what it is God is telling me through the Logos. I'm assuming that what I'm reading is not exactly what God is telling me. God, is there something you're telling me beyond what I'm reading? And that is when now I'm starting to hear with my spirit. So I will hear the Rhema word, which is specifically for me. A preacher may stand and preach a sermon, and 10 people got 10 different things from it. To each one, it spoke to them in a different way. That is a miracle of the word of God. That God is able now to take that Logos and talk to each person separately through a Rhema word. So when the word of God addresses your situation, the situation you're in, and this word is addressing directly where I'm at, know that it is a Rhema word. It is a Rhema word.